Alright, taking the old propeller off, you start untorquing it. Same pattern that you would torque it. Take a little bit of pressure off the wood in that cross pattern until everything's loose and the tension's relieved. You might hear a little cracking, and then just smoothly take the whole thing off. Well, here's the old Sonex 5464. Going to get replaced with the Prince-P Prop. Now Sonex ships their props with these little blocks here. There's room for the propeller tip to go into. I'm just going to store it back in that box. The Prince comes in a box, and they decided to mount the propeller through the center hole using some wooden blocks on the outside of the box. And then the propeller itself was protected with a bunch of cut up newspaper. And so there's a center post in the box that the propeller was over for shipping, keep it from rattling around. Perfect fit. Got all new bolts and nuts for the propeller to go on with. And I remember when I first fit the Sonex, I had to try different sizes to get the right thread depth with the propeller. And this one looks to be identical, and I think I should be able to use the same length. There's no particular clocking that you need to do with these propellers. Basically go on any way that the bolt pattern allows, so there's no need to think about that aspect of it. You'll see on this mounting plate these bolts here, and that the holes are drilled out bigger on the back side to accommodate those plugs. This is a standard installation for our 3300 engine. Now, prior to starting this, I had to enter into phase 1 flight testing again. So get out the operating limitations, reread those. With propeller change, it's going to be 5 hours of phase 1 testing. Make the appropriate logbook entries for that. I was incorrect in my earlier statement that the same size bolts. I actually am going to have to go a little shorter, make sure I've got the right thread clearance. So a bolt, a washer, into the crush plate, through the plugs, another washer, and then nut on the other side. Okay, so the torque on this, it's an AN6, that's a 3/8 inch. They're calling for 210 inch-pounds. 12 and a 210 is 17 and a half foot-pounds. 17 and a half foot-pounds, but I need to add the friction. So what they want you to do is see how much pressure it takes to turn the bolt without tightening it. And then we're going to add that to the torque value for the propeller. So it looks like about 2, maybe a little bit more than 2. It's a little hard to read on this meter. I'm going to go for 2. Add that to the 17 and a half. set my better torque wrench to 17 and a half, and we'll go from there. 17 and a half plus 2 is 19 and a half. Puts us right up there, the thing here, the locker. And that's our torque value. And we're going to torque this in a crisscross pattern that you're all familiar with. Okay, so those are all torqued to the right value. Next is the tracking test. So that's off by about 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to go into the instructions and see what they say about that. Alright, they say 1/8 of an inch is outer tolerance. I'm going to try and beat that. The technique is to loosen the bolts, tighten the high side first, and then re-torque, and then re-measure track. I'm going to measure track at a couple other spots too to make sure that I'm tracking it correctly. So I'm going to readjust. Looks like this side tracks a little bit further out, depending on how I set the measurements, 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go for a little more perfection than that.
Yes,
so
sir.
no good project would be complete without you know, the hanger bumps coming around, making sure that I'm doing it right.
That's right.
So that's a better prop, hopefully.
A couple of guys have gotten 10 miles an hour out of it.
Gee, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Weird shape.
I know, isn't that cool?
It is cool. It's
Yeah, the little drooping tips. And,
yeah.
But what I love most is the carbon fiber. Just, isn't that beautiful?
Oh yes.
We want to see the sexiest new thing?
Yes, hell yes.
There it is.
What is it, IO 720?
Oh,
look at that.
Prince-P
Whoa. Wow. A little curly tip. Look at that.
What's this?
Oh, you're shitting.
Except there's a little mark on
What the
it.
fuck is that, dude? Yeah, I know, I saw it. Didn't pick up the stone already.
After you install the propeller, the instructions have you run the engine up to temperature, and I presume that's to get heat to go forward into the propeller. Then you shut down everything, take the cowling off again, retorque the bolts, and then start the test flight. So after you put on the new propeller, they want you to re-torque it after running the temperature up. So I ran the engine for a while, got it up to temperature. I did a full power check, and my parking brakes don't hold anymore. So static thrust on the ground is certainly higher, and we'll have to see if that translates into better climb, and then what happens at cruise. So when I went to re-torque the bolts, one of them turned, I don't know, 16th or an 1/8 of the way around. Another one budged. The others were all right set where they were before. They didn't move at all when the torque wrench clicked. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Since the engine's warmed up, I'm going to go ahead and do an oil change, and I'll probably do new spark plugs and all that. So see you in a little bit, and we'll do the test flight for the propeller.